Hey everyone, welcome back to Jashelle Tech TV. In this video, I'll be chatting with Micah, who is a tech professional. Micah and I were in a study group together back in coding bootcamp from 2019 to 2020, and we've kept in touch since then. So in this video, I'll be getting to know about Micah's current tech role, and hopefully this interview can also help anyone that is either entering the tech field or already in the tech field who may be interested in learning more about this role. And also to help others learn about different kinds of roles available in the tech industry, more specifically the software and coding side of tech. All right, so hi, Micah.
Hello.
So we will start with some introductory questions. First question, so what is your current role and how long have you been in this role?
So my current role is technically called a PIM Digital Analyst, but that's not what I started out as. When I was hired on, it was called a report developer. But the responsibilities are basically the same. So it was really just like a change in the title. So they're pretty much the same thing. But yeah, when I was hired on initially, it was through a contractor, like through a recruiter. And I was technically a contractor. So when I actually got hired on full time, it switched to PIM Digital Analyst.
Okay, so it's PIM Digital Analyst.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it stands for like Product Information Management. And I think I've been in this role for about a year and a half.
Nice. Okay. So was it kind of like a promotion in a sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you have any prior professional experience or is this your first tech job?
Yeah. First tech job out of our boot camp that we went to. And before that, it was just regular factory worker.
Okay. So factory work to tech. Nice. Okay. And so what kind of company do you work for as a PIM Digital Analyst? Is it a tech-based company or a different industry?
They are primarily a manufacturing company that they deal with like making bathroom type stuff like faucets and things like that, toilet, plumbing fixtures, things like that. But they have a large IT section too. The company itself is like huge. It's got something like 10,000 employees worldwide. So it's pretty big.
Nice. Okay. So is it remote or in office?
It's hybrid currently. So like most companies, it was remote, started being remote during the pandemic. And then I think at the beginning of this year, they switched to wanting us to come in 3 days a week. So technically hybrid now. Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite part about working hybrid?
Let's see. My favorite part is probably, at least on the days when I am remote, I have more flexibility with the schedule. So like if I need to take an afternoon off, that's perfectly fine. I can just make up the hours like later that day or even on the weekend. So having that extra flexibility is pretty nice.
Nice. Okay. So what is the primary responsibility of a PIM Digital Analyst in your current company?
I would say the three main responsibilities is collaboration with like the business side to understand what their needs are, because primarily the tickets that you work on are going to be coming from them. So having a good understanding of what exactly it is that they want is super important. And then there's a lot of reports and data that is being filtered through like forums and things. So creating and maintaining those reports is another important responsibility. And then be able to work with like XML and backend databases is also important.
Okay. So it's a lot. So there's a lot of reporting involved and
Yeah.
technical data from maybe databases
hmm
stuff. Okay, nice. So as a PIM data analyst, do you do the same thing as you did as a report developer, but is it just more responsibility maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly getting like a new stream of new responsibilities as we're kind of like in a process of shifting from like older technologies to newer technologies. So there's a bit of a shift happening there, but yeah.
Okay, nice. And so are you the sole PIM digital analyst on your team or in your department, or are there others who also handle these similar tasks?
There are 7 other developers besides me. We have 2 business analysts and a product owner just on my team alone. So I'm not sure if that's considered small or large. Seems kind of big to me, but yeah. So there's 7 of us, so 6 besides me, and we're technically split between what is called like a product team and a platform team. So the product team focuses more on actual requests from the business, whereas the platform team focuses more on maintaining the stability of the platform, making sure that the tools and things are working as they're supposed to. But
Right.
that said, we tend to work on both consistently. So someone that's on a product team might be working on a platform ticket a lot, and vice versa.
So next, let's dive into experience, education, and the hiring process. So what were some of the required technical skills for this position?
Knowing JavaScript and XQuery, which I'm not sure a lot of people have heard of XQuery before, but it's tied a lot to like XML. So it's very useful for working with like XML databases, which is why it's one of the languages that is important for the job, since a lot of the data is stored in XML. But so having an understanding of XQuery, XML, and JavaScript was good. I guess like having the ability to context switch a lot is good because priorities get switched sometimes, obviously. So being able to like drop what you're doing and suddenly switch to doing something completely unrelated is a useful skill. And then writing user stories. Most of our tickets we do are user story based, so that would be a good skill to have.
Okay. So did this company place greater emphasis on prior professional experience and education for this role, or did they primarily focus on assessing specific skill set?
The latter. I mean, when I got hired on, I didn't have any prior professional experience, so they didn't place a huge emphasis on that. I did have like personal projects and the things we did at Lambda School or Bloom Tech to reference, obviously, so that probably helped. And I think initially, so I got hired through a recruiter as a contractor, which I think also kind of upped my chances because obviously when you do that, the pay is worse, but it's at least a way to get your foot in the door.
Right. Agreed. Okay. And so briefly, what prior skills, experience, and or knowledge did you have that helped you prepare for and land this role?
A lot of the training and stuff we did at Lambda School, I think, helped. Having all those projects that we did built up to show the work that I've at least done before helped. And being able to talk at least at a high level, like about the technologies that the company uses, I think was useful.
Okay. And so roughly, what was the general starting salary range being offered for this position?
Or I was a contractor, it's quite low, maybe like 40, 50K a year. It wasn't even salaried, it was hourly, I think. When I became a full employee, it was significantly more. Probably the offer was around 90 to 100K.
Nice. Okay. So that's a big step up.
Yeah.
And so how was the interview process for this role? Were there any specific scenarios or exercises that you had to do to demonstrate your knowledge for the position?
That was a weird one. There wasn't that many technical questions. I always felt more like an HR interview. They basically walked me through kind of like the code, not the code base, but they walked me through like what they do essentially. And I think the main thing they were looking for is just be able to talk about the technologies that they use, at least to some extent. I didn't really know xQuery then, but I did do some research on it, so I was able to at least talk about it. And then be able to reference like the projects and stuff as I was talking in the interview helped, I think.
Okay. And so whenever you started this role, was there any sort of formal training available during your onboarding process?
I don't really say formal. Yeah, one of the developers just walked me through the code, like the code base. And they did give me like a lot of time to like get used to it and look through the code myself. And when I actually started working on tickets, you would have like a developer shadowing you. So if you had any like questions and stuff, you could talk to them about it. But I wouldn't say there was like any type of formal training.
So does any aspect of your work involve working with clients, or is it all internal facing work?
Yeah, I don't really work with clients at all. It's all internal to the company. The business side of the company does a lot of work internally with the data. So we're usually developing tools and stuff for them specifically.
Got it. Okay.
So, yeah, hardly any interaction with clients.
So what are some of the tools and technologies that you work with daily?
XML, obviously, xQuery and JavaScript are big ones. And the company is kind of starting to dabble in like cloud stuff. So we're working with Azure now a bit. Things like the Cosmos database that Azure has. We work with Jira for our ticketing stuff. And then for like source control, we use Bitbucket. And we use Microsoft Teams for like communication.
Okay. So which tools and technologies were completely new to you that you had to learn on the job?
xQuery. I didn't really know much about that, but it's not really that complicated of a language. Like if you know JavaScript, pretty easy to pick up. Azure, I didn't really know anything. I kind of studied a little bit of like AWS, which is kind of like Amazon's version of Azure, but I didn't ever do like a deep dive into it. So Azure's pretty new. Jira, I had never worked with, and Bitbucket, I usually did all my stuff in GitHub, but if you know GitHub, it's pretty easy to switch over to Bitbucket too, I think.
Agreed. Yeah. So which tools or systems does your team use to assign and track work assignments? It sounds like Jira.
Yeah, pretty much use Jira exclusively.
Yeah. A lot of people use that. I've used a different tool in a different job before. So for your work structure, how are work projects or tasks determined within your team? Is there a designated manager or team lead who assigns work to you, or is it more of a collaborative effort?
Yeah, it's more of a collaborative effort. Essentially, a lot of the tickets we get come from the business, so they create the tickets. Our product owner talks with the business to kind of figure out like what their priority is and ranks the tickets in our backlog accordingly to that. And then as a team, we all come together, size the tickets, refine them if they need to be refined, or put them aside if we need to ask clarifying questions of the business. And once we're done doing like a refinement process, we will move those tickets to like a to-do step. And then throughout the developer's day, if they need a ticket, they just look at like the to-dos column and they can grab tickets from the top of that.
So there's kind of like the daily work, and then there's much larger projects, and so anybody can grab the kind of daily stuff or anything
Right.
you done. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, makes sense. And do you ever get to choose specific tasks or projects that you like to work on? Well, I guess projects, since anybody can work on tasks, but so with the projects, I guess you kind of get to choose that, or
I mean, the projects kind of just happen. There's not like a list of projects that we can like, I want to work on this project. It's really a matter of what project is a priority at that moment and the tickets that are associated with that project get done. So I wouldn't really say we have like a choice of the project we work on. No.
got it. Okay, so in your typical day to day as a PIM Digital Analyst, did I say that correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so what are some examples of tasks that you work on or problems that you have to solve?
It's kind of complicated because it really depends on what the business needs, and their needs change a lot. So, but I guess common ones are like if they need to have they're wanting to, bring on a new brand, let's say. They have some fields in their workflow that the brand needs access to. So you as a developer would need to make sure you're going in through the code and making sure that the brand is available, or these fields are available for that specific brand. It could be something simple like that. I mean, think of it's a bit like if you're like editing a form, like an input form, I guess. So you can have simple tickets like that where you're just really editing forms. And then sometimes there will be tickets where you need to, if the business suddenly has an idea where they want like a new type of tool to, display some data for some reason, or they want to be able to, display the data and then download it. So they might have like a new tool that they want you to make. So that would require creating that new tool.
Mhm.
And then there's tickets like regular like defect or bug tickets that come in. So that's generally how it goes.
Okay, so creating new tools, editing inputs, right?
Yeah.
And then bug tickets. Okay, nice. So what's a common challenge you face in your role, and what's your approach to solving or addressing it?
Common challenge, probably getting clarity on like what a ticket requires from a development perspective. So the tickets are usually created by the business, who might not have like a clear understanding of what the development actually looks like, right? So making sure that the ticket is clear enough for any of our developers to actually be able to work on tends to require like making sure that you go and talk to the business if something's not clear, so that you understand the problem correctly, so that then when we're refining the ticket as a group, we can make sure that the ticket is clear enough for a developer to not have like a bunch of questions as they're developing it. But the way to solve that usually is just making sure that you're communicating well with the business.
Yeah, it's always good to know what you're actually doing, especially in development. You don't want to get too far to the rabbit hole on that. So in your work, do you have specific deadlines, or do you just communicate estimated timelines to your team or whoever you need to?
Projects have deadlines. Individual tickets tend to not, but obviously the deadline for the project is the deadline for the tickets. But it can be kind of like there's so many different teams doing different things on a project that a project tends to get delayed a lot. So you might be working on a ticket and then suddenly the project is just on hold for who knows how long. So there's a lot of things that happen, but generally you're just expected to get it done within the project deadline. Not like a specific ticket needs to be done by, this next week or whatever.
Okay. So how does your team measure performance or success? Is there any sort of review or feedback process?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the year, we have we make these things called performance goals. So the company at the beginning of the year has goals for the year, obviously, and then they're more like abstract, but the managers then create goals themselves that align with the company goals, and the developers and everyone else make their own specific goals for that year, try to align with their managers. So at the beginning of the year, you have all these goals in mind for that year, and then at the end of the year, we review those with our manager to see how well we did.
Nice. So it's more yearly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And do you have projects or regular meetings that involve cross-team collaboration with other departments or teams to accomplish certain tasks or solve certain problems?
For some projects or initiatives, when they're active, weekly meetings might be stood up. So every week you have a meeting about this specific project to see where the various teams are. But as a general rule, it's usually more of if I'm working on something that requires maybe another team, I will communicate with them directly and then set up a meeting if it's needed. It's not usually a regular cadence.
Okay. And finally, what is a tip that you would give to someone who is entering the tech field or maybe already in the tech field and considering a role as either a report developer or a PIM Digital Analyst? In general, what do you think could help them prepare for roles like this?
In my experience, having some sort of experience that you can tap into when you're interviewing is going to be crucial. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be professional experience, but even if you just you've worked on personal projects, right? So being able to tap into your problem solving process while you were working through those projects is going to be super helpful, because usually the interviewers want to know how you problem solve. So at least having some type of experience through projects that you've worked on is really helpful.
Okay. And so if anyone watching wanted to ask additional questions about becoming either a report developer or PIM Digital Analyst, or learn more about you and your tech journey, do you have a website or social media pages that you'd like to share?
Then probably I'll send you my contact information later. But
Okay.
it's probably best to contact me through LinkedIn or Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. So I'll send you those two contact infos, and you can put them in the description if you want. That works.
Yeah, that works. I will put them in the description. So that wraps up the questions. Thank you so much, Micah, for sharing what you do in your role and chatting with me today. Keep up the great work. And if anyone has questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And you can feel free, Micah, to follow up with anyone here in the comment section. And thank you, everyone, for watching, and see you in the next video.